All right. As I said, we're going to be spending, it's the prior emails said we'll be spending most of our time today on some proposed changes to the coalition's values and missions that um, we are very eager for you to have the opportunity to input on, help shape. Three of our steering committee members, Pia Contos, Kate White, and Sherry Dupuy, have spearheaded this effort. All of the steering committees members have been involved. Kate happens to be one of the people who will be leading you through this today, together with Helen Abel and Taylor Curta. But before handing them over to you now, before handing this meeting over to them, I just want to let you all know, and again, there will be many more conversations about this, so we're not going to be spending a lot of time on this today, but that I have notified the steering committee that I plan is to step down as coordinator of Reimagining Dementia by the end of this year. And as I said, there are, again, you will be very involved in this transition process. It's not as if we have this whole master plan that we'll be announcing. We really want to get a lot of impact. In fact, you'll be hearing from us about the possibility of, if you're interested, of being part of the transition process. A couple of things to say. I mean, there were some personal reasons why I decided on this. It's been 4 years. It has been a joy to play this role. I am not leaving the coalition, so please do not hear this as I'm suddenly disappearing from view. But the primary reason, obviously, that I made the decision and have been thinking about it for a while is I actually genuinely think it's the best thing for the coalition. As I was saying last night to the people who gathered last night, I've never been a big believer. Well, I've never been a big believer in bureaucratic organizations. I'm not a big believer in the single strong leader kind of model, although I don't know that I think we've exactly followed that. However, I played a key role. I am probably the public face of the coalition, broadly speaking. As I said, it has been an honor. I think it has just been wonderful. And I think it's now a time, because we've built a lot. We're here. I think we've got some things in place. We've accomplished some things. Don't want to overstate it. Don't want to understate it. However, it's always good to kind of take a look at everything and see now what's needed, because as the famous American, well, they were criminals, Bonnie and Clyde said, just because you arrive in one car doesn't mean you have to leave in the same car. So I figure if it was good enough for them, it's good enough for us. I don't think we have to ride in the same car all the way down. Now, I will be an active part of it. As I said, if anything, I would love to find new and perhaps better ways to make use of the talents that I do have, however modest. But really, I wanted to let you know, and I'll be, obviously be announcing more broadly after these gatherings. But I also think it's important that we just continue to shape this in a way that's meaningful to all of you and so many others. We have probably we have well over 1,000 members now from 44. And that's just important that, because amongst other things, it's not 2020 anymore. It's a different world, and our world is, well, it's not so. So for all these reasons, you should just never get stuck in doing things a particular way in life, work, living. But also, it's just a very different world. And I think we've got different challenges. And I think we've got different opportunities that I think we need to figure out how to be better positioned to move forward. And I think that would be very exciting, because I think, honestly, I think the need for us, if you're just speaking that, is greater than ever. That doesn't mean, therefore, that something necessarily follows, but I just want to make sure that at least we have a good shot at being as prepared as we can be, to keep building and to keep being a very important voice, not just for people living with dementia, but I think for everyone who is just desperately seeking a better world and a better way to live and a better way to, in a way, include and better ways to die, just better ways to move forward that actually are meaningful and growthful for them, their families, their communities. So I view us as very much a part of this international community of people who are just, they are working so hard to creatively engage and create new ways of engaging all that's going on for us and for so many people. So if anything, I'm hoping I would love to play a role in just, bringing and making the coalition even more meaningful on the ground, everywhere across the world, and including reaching some of the communities that, for example, Zetu, who's here, South Africa, and other places where the resources just simply, I mean, I don't want to overstate resources anywhere in the world, but there are places where they're simply under-resourced in dramatic ways. And I would love for that to just continue to be something we focus on. However, today, we're going to be looking at part of the process, because I think in re-looking at the mission and values, it was really part of this, that everything just needs to, you just need to look at things again and make sure that what you're saying and what you're doing are kind of in sync. The only thing I'll say about it before handing it over to the triumvirate who's going to lead you in the conversation is that these are words. They're very important words. I think I care deeply about the mission and values that we've created and that have stood us, I think, in good stead. And they're just words. So really, as always, it's up. And it's an interesting thing about words. A lot of people, a lot of organizations can probably put down some of the words that we will be discussing today, and they'll have very different meanings. So I also think, and what I love about the work and the leadership that's been provided, is it's also about capturing the spirit of the coalition and how we're going to continue to bring those words to life in ways that are meaningful to not only to all of us, but to the communities and the people that we strive to reach every day. So that's going to be exciting, because it's always, we want to keep bringing them to life, and doing that in as creative a way as we can. So I'm going to hand over. I even meet my deadline. This is good. I wasn't sure I could speak that fast. But anyway, however, before doing that, I know, and it's fine if no one is, but I at least wanted to just give us a moment if anyone wants to say. I realized last night I didn't want to just say the announcement and then kind of go, oh, well, that's it. And I'm not looking for responses. We will have, as I said, we will have plenty of time to talk about it. You will be involved if you want. However, let's take 30 seconds and then we'll turn the rest of the time over so you all can continue to get to know each other in this process.
I think I'm going to start with an introduction. Can you hear me all? I'm making sure that I'm unmuted. I think I'm fine. Thanks. So as Mary described, we're going to have a discussion about the vision, values, and vision statement that the steering committee members worked on, led by Pia and Kate and Sherry. We hope that what we've created is a clear vision, clear mission, and clear values, but let us know. And the idea of these statements is to help guide decision-making for the coalition and provide some accountability for members. What we want to do is make it clear to the world what the coalition wants for the future, that's its vision, how we're contributing to the vision, that's our mission or purpose, and the values that guide all of our work together. Pia and Kate and Sherry shared the draft statement, the statement they drafted with steering committee members at 2 separate meetings, and received feedback at those meetings as well as through follow-up emails. And Pia, Sherry, and Kate also asked the steering committee members to vote on their top 3 to 5 values. So this draft has been for quite a bit of processing. So we're going to present the vision, mission, and values. As you read them, we'd like to think about, I'd like you to think about what prompted you to join the coalition and how the ways that these vision, mission, and value statements are consistent or inconsistent with your reasons for joining the coalition. So Nicolette, take it away. I'll share the values on my screen. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to start with the vision statement. And a vision should address the future goals and ambitions, such as what we want the world to look like in the future. So our vision currently that was drafted states that our vision is a society that prioritizes inclusivity, relationships, and essential supports and services that promote creativity, joy, reablement, growth, and life for everyone impacted by dementia. So we're going to ask 3 questions for your input, and CN has put them in the chat box as well. And the questions are, what are your thoughts and feedbacks of the vision? Does this vision statement reflect your understanding of the coalition? And does this vision statement reflect what the coalition has been working towards? And so initially we were going to have people use the raise hand function, but I think that we're a small enough group that between all of our eyes, we'll be able to make sure that we don't miss anybody who might be raising their hand or have a comment to make. So we're going to open it up to the floor and see what ideas you all have reflecting on the vision statement. Would it be helpful to put the vision statement in the chat box as well? Back again? Okay. Do that.
CN going to do that?
Okay.
Can you do that, CN?
I was going to say it's easier if you put it on the screen and we don't see anybody's faces, because then we can go from the vision statement and look at the chat box to see what our questions are.
Okay, you want me to put the questions? Well, then I have 2 screens on the.
Oh, so you want
sharing
to,
files, I think.
so Phyllis, you're suggesting to put back up the
So you know
vision
how
again?
we had the vision statement on the screen, not your face. And then we
Yes.
can have our chat box open on the right so we can see both. So we can read the vision statement and answer the questions. That would help me the most, but it's up to the group. I'm just one person of many.
No, I agree, Phyllis. So I think it's just sharing your screen again, Margaret. Just going
Sure.
back.
Do you have enough, will you be able to see the people's faces well enough?
We won't be able to see everyone's faces, so could we use the raise hand function if everybody's okay with that under reactions?
Okay, can you see the
Great.
statement again?
Okay, everybody okay with that?
Yes. Thank you.
Very good. All right. So what are your thoughts and feedback on the vision? Does this vision statement reflect your understanding of the coalition? And does this vision statement reflect what the coalition has been working towards?
Can you scroll it down, please?
We're going to do just the vision right now. Can you see that?
Oh,
Yes.
So we'll just focus on vision right now. And Wally, you have your hand up?
Hello.
Hi, Wally.
Hi, everybody. Sorry for being late. I could get my stupid computer to open a Zoom meeting at all. So anyways, doesn't matter. I was curious on the second paragraph of vision. Is the word inclusivity and the word inclusion mean the same thing? Because inclusivity is not a word that I'm familiar with using in general speaking. And I always like to keep everything sort of where people don't stop and think, what's that mean? You know, everybody knows what inclusion means, but do they know what inclusivity means? I know it's a good word for what we want to do, but that was my thought. Done.
Thank you, Wally. And Phyllis?
I think the work we've been doing does reflect back to this statement. Okay, so hang on. Somebody's put something in the chat. I gotta scroll back up. So does the vision statement reflect understanding of the coalition? I think it does. I think the vision statement does reflect that. And I think it is something we've been all working towards. And I think a lot of us have embedded this into our own everyday life and work we're doing. So I think it does.
All right. And Kristen? Thank you, Phyllis.
My only thing where I sort of start to have a question is life for everyone impacted by dementia. So I started thinking, does that mean people with dementia? Well, I immediately thought that means people with dementia and people and supporters, carers, supporters of people with dementia, family members. But then I thought everyone impacted by dementia is basically everyone. Like, so it's GPs, it's doctors, people that work in homes caring for people, supporting people with dementia.
Yeah.
So that everyone impacted by dementia, I wonder if that could be, what's the common understanding? Or some people might just think everyone impacted by dementia, that's people who have dementia. So that bit is just a bit, that's fuzzy for me, but I just wonder if that's clear to everyone else.
Right. So just make sure that the meaning of that is clear to all who are seeing the statements.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kristen. Anyone else have comments on the vision?
I'm okay with inclusivity. I think it's used a lot now with prioritizes inclusivity. So including everyone, I guess, that you're talking about. The dementia, people who have it, but also the carers and people who I'm thinking have products and services, right? I mean, that's what my role is. I have a product. Is that what most of you have, or what? I guess I don't know the makeup of this particular group right now. Who's online? What people do.
That's a good point, Brenda. Maybe as people are answering, they could, quickly talk about their relationship with dementia. Would that be helpful?
Right. Like my relationship is my partner who took care of her mother who had Alzheimer's and her dad who had frontal lobe dementia from or temporal from a stroke. And we created a video series that educates families about Alzheimer's from diagnosis through the severe stage. And we talk about behaviors in each stage and then activities, because we're all about trying to help families maintain relationships, have successful interactions. And therefore, the person with dementia or Alzheimer's has, quality life because they're being interacted with in a way that creates positive memories for the family and gives them joy for a moment. So that's what we do. It's called Mackenzie Meets Alzheimer's. And it's called the Mackenzie Meets Alzheimer's Awareness Program. And we serve toddlers on up. We also have Mackenzie Meets Alzheimer's Disease picture book that comes with a download of a song. So I joined the group to help raise awareness that we have this available at MackenzieMeetsAlzheimer's.com. And I mean, I don't even know if I fit into the group,
No, you belong here, Brenda. You belong. You
Definitely.
belong. Welcome, welcome. So
So-
how about we just briefly, I mean, if that would help make connections, what do you think, Phyllis?
Nicolette, let's go back to the big screen and let's do a very quick run through of everybody on the
Okay.
screen to introduce themselves, because we do have a lot of new members here tonight. It's their
Yeah.
first one. They don't know. So I think that would be great. Sorry, Nicolette. I don't mean to take over. I should just.
No, I think that's a great idea. Okay, so Margaret, do you want to stop sharing? And then Wendy and Carlo, Dorothy, we'll go to you next after we introduce each other. I'll just stop sharing for you, Margaret. I got it.
Stop sharing the screen, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, stop sharing the screen. And then let's just briefly, because we really do only spend 1 hour on these calls. So on these meetings. So if just briefly, if you could describe maybe carer, person living with, or, you're in a business that supports. And then, maybe offline people can connect with each other. So Wendy,
But
can
we're
we go
already
ahead?
20 minutes before 7 and we haven't gotten through one of the three
Right,
calls.
and right. We may or may not get through everything is how I'm seeing, but I think making connections, since that's a foundation for the organization, that we should just spend, just a brief amount of time introducing ourselves to each other. If everyone thinks that's okay, it's hard to have a conversation without knowing how we're
Yeah,
connected.
and keep it really really brief if we
Right,
can.
right.
So Nicolette, I'll just go ahead as an example. My name's
Okay.
Phyllis Fair. I'm a person living with young onset Alzheimer's, and I work to change policy and practices and to help people live well with young onset dementia.
Okay. And I'll just call it names Wendy.
Hi, I'm a social work professor and dementia researcher in British Columbia, Canada.
And Dorothy.
I'm a occupational therapist, but I'm not working at the moment in full time. But this is exactly why I chose to be part of Reimagining Dementia, because of the frustration that I experienced in working with dementia.
And then Cian.
Day job, I work for the Alzheimer's Society of Canada, and then my volunteer role here with Reimagining Dementia is the website.
Thank you. And Lupita.
Hello, I'm Lupita. I live in Yakima, Washington, and I'm a person living with dementia.
Thank you, Lupita. Kat.
Oh, hello from Las Vegas. I'm Kat, a lifetime care partner, losing 6 family members, spent time in research at the FDA and Cleveland Clinic, and now I'm the DOT of Dangle and DOT, the first dementia-owned social enterprise, along with Nancy Nelson.
And Margaret.
Oh, I'm busy trying to take notes. I'm Margaret Oldfield. I'm a researcher and scholar looking at people's experiences of dementia, particularly when they live in care homes or nursing homes.
Wally.
My name's Wally Cox. I'm 6 years past the date I was told I would be dead from dementia. I'm an advocate, a strong advocate for reintroducing into people's lives faith, hope, and love, and to remove the sorrow narrative of the diagnosis of dementia, which is so destructive. That's my heart and that's my passion, and that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Wally. Kristen.
Kia ora from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I work for Dementia Wellington back office. I work for Dementia New Zealand contractor doing data. We don't have a data set around dementia in Aotearoa. And my dad had dementia. I spent time with him. he said poetry. I wrote a book about it. So I want to reimagine dementia.
Thanks, Kristen. Michelle?
Hi there, I'm Michelle Memron. I'm a documentary filmmaker who works creatively with people who are living with dementia. And I'm also a care partner, care collaborator, creative collaborator with my mom, who just got diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Thank you, Michelle. And Emerson?
Hi, I'm a life enrichment specialist and a coach for people who are afraid of getting dementia. And this is Lou. Lou is 3 months old.
Thanks, Emerson. And then my iPhone?
That's probably me from earlier today, trying to get into this blankety blank meeting.
Okay.
And I don't know how to turn it off. So I'm assuming that when we close this, I'll get my phone back. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, Wally. And I'm Nicolette. I live in Las Vegas as well as Kat, and I'm facilitator for the Hummingbird Memory Cafe, retired primary care provider, physician assistant, and volunteer for a lot of things dementia. So it's nice to see all of you. All right. So thank you so much for everyone briefly introducing yourselves. And let's go back to the vision. And we had 2 comments. Wendy and Dorothy had 2 comments. So let's go back to that.
Sure.
Wendy?
Okay. Yeah, just reflecting on some of what was said. I just wonder, you could use inclusion instead of inclusivity if people are stumbling over inclusivity or if it's not as accessible. I think they have the same or similar meaning. The other thing I wondered about is at the end of the sentence, reflecting on what was said about who is included in that everyone impacted by dementia, and that could really be the whole world. So I don't know if it would make sense to say instead people living with dementia and others impacted by dementia, right? Like just to prioritize or centralize persons living with dementia. Or you could say persons living with dementia, their families and their communities, right? I don't know. But I know it's probably you want it to be short. Just some thoughts based on what I heard.
Thank you, Wendy. And Dorothy?
I just wanted to say that the vision really drew me because of the words joy and creativity. So they are not reflected in other groups. I did belong to a group that did emphasize a lot on creativity, but joy is just such a wonderful word. So I love that.
Thank you, Dorothy. All right, any other thoughts on the vision statements?
I did double check for you young whippersnappers, and inclusivity has only been out since 1929. So I guess it's part of normal polite society's talking, but I'm kind of a dumbbell, so I always like everything as stupid as possible. So anyhow, either word's fine. But I did have to see when it was started.
You're not. It also depends on what country you live in. Words are different in English around the world.
Thank you, Ollie. Awesome. All right. Well, Margaret, we want to go to mission.
Sure. Can you put up the share your screen with the vision statement?
Sure.
I'll go back to the right part here. Just I'm switching screens on a laptop.
Okay, so now this is just mission.
Yeah, I found the right thing now. Can you put the questions, which I think are this requires, in the chat box?
So the questions are below that. Cian, will you put those in since I have this one up?
Okay, sure.
They're in the chat box. They're pretty much the same as the other ones with mission and sort of vision.
Okay, perfect.
So here's the mission statement. I'm going to try and be fairly quick because we only have less than 10 minutes left. Our mission is to transform society so that everyone impacted by dementia, as we've discussed, we can change that part, is valued and enabled to flourish. This requires prioritizing the voices and experience of people living with dementia, reducing stigma and its associated harms, critiquing and transforming policies and practices that are not supportive of living well with dementia, and fostering more relational, inclusive, compassionate, and creative places, settings, communities, and opportunities to flourish. So our questions are, what do we do? How do we do this? Who do we do this for? And why is this important? So at this point, not quite sure what Kate and Sherry and Pia wanted to do with this. So you can respond to this should address questions or give us your comments on this, the mission statement itself. What do you think?
So same questions, what are your thoughts and feedback on the mission? Does this mission
Uh,
statement reflect your understanding of the coalition's purpose? And does this mission statement reflect the activities of the coalition?
Sure,
Keeping
we
in
can go with those
mind,
questions if you want. Yep. Good
those,
idea.
yeah, exactly.
All right. So how about the first one? Just going down here. What are your thoughts and feedback on the mission?
Wally has his hand up.
Just real quick on the first line, when we talk about, I already forgot what it said, but it's about talking about people with dementia. I think it should also include those who care and love for them. Just broaden it a little bit more. So, so then those who care could include medical professionals and nurses, and those who love them would be family and friends.
Okay.
So
So
that
you want to use
everybody
the same,
who's affected by this is included. We're not just people with dementia.
yeah, you want it
Thank
to
you.
be the same as the value statement version of inclusion? We might as well do that. Does that suit you? Is that a good idea, Wally? Were you commenting on the values?
I can't remember that far back, but I just want to make sure it includes, it mentions, because it's just not just those of us who are suffering, but it's the
Exactly.
the people have to take care of us and what they go through.
Yeah. Okay. Kristen has her hand up.
Yep, it's just one word, reducing stigma and its associated harms. I'm not sure if, I was wondering about challenging instead of reducing.
Reducing stigma, challenging stigma,
So,
yeah.
Challenging stigma, because there was a case recently where I felt like, well, I'll just say what it was, the UK Alzheimer's ad. I felt like the stigma
Yes.
was challenged, but not necessarily reduced.
Exactly.
So
a lot
I
of
think
challenging so
I
far.
don't think we can. I don't think we can always reduce it, but we can challenge it wherever it appears. For me, that's a clearer word.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Michelle?
I really like challenge stigma. I also like disrupt stigma. Because that feels a little more active, like
right.
Just a thought.
Okay. Any other thoughts or feedback on the vision statement, on the mission statement?
I guess the thing I see missing from it, it's not just about stigma, but it's that like disrupting or challenging the pathological or negative views, right? Or embracing I don't know, like embracing the counter stories or the counter narratives or the diversity of experiences, right? Like it's not all doom and gloom, which is the way that it's always presented in the media.
Right.
And that's what Reimagining Dementia has been doing, but that's missing from this.
Good. Yeah, so you're answering the second question. Does this statement reflect your understanding of the coalition? So you're adding things that the coalition's been doing but they're not in the mission statement. Thank you very much. Kristen?
One more comment. This phrase, living well with dementia, there was a Wendy Mitchell, who was a fantastic younger onset advocate. She didn't really like this phrase, and I do wonder how people with dementia feel about it. But there's kind of I think for some people, they don't live well, it's hard, and it kind of puts a pressure, an expectation to live well with dementia. And so maybe that could be phrased, just people living with dementia. You could take out the well, but
right.
What do you think, Wally, and others? I don't know, from a personal experience point of view.
I happen to agree. I think that depends on where you're at in your dementia walk. And sometimes it's towards the end, and I've buried 2 family members from dementia, and it's not pleasant at any level. I mean, it's very rare that you get a little glimpse of sunshine in an otherwise dark day, but I don't know. It's a very tough challenge to find the right words.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Wally. Yeah. I think we had Michelle first. Go ahead, Michelle.
One of the things I wanted to say too, what Wally talked about, like transforming the tragedy narrative, transforming the narrative, is something that we use in advocacy, videos. I just feel like the narrative needs to change, but also the living well piece. I don't know if this would be true to your experience, those who are living fully with dementia, or is there I don't know if that seems condescending or any, like, I think that's, I don't know. So tossing it back.
Michelle,
how about living in your moment with dementia? Because the way we live with dementia can change from morning to night, depending on how our day's going.
Yeah.
Living in our moment of dementia.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Phyllis. Brenda?
Well, I just wrote a chapter for a book called Caregiver's Advocate, and in it, I mean, I'm talking all about reducing the stigma. And so, because we're trying to make it, I mean, I talk about in the chapter how, people ask me what I'm up to these days, and I tell them, well, I'm working on this, I have a project that I promote that helps families interact and stuff, and their voice with people who have Alzheimer's or any type of dementia, and their voices go, oh, I describe how the decline in tone, like, oh, like, what do you want to do? Why would you do that? And my feeling about it is, well, why wouldn't we want the next generation to be educated about it and reduce that stigma so children feel comfortable around people who have dementia? And so anyway, maybe there's a way we could include reduce, challenge, and something dementia, the stigma of dementia, reduce, challenge, incorporate all of these words. I mean, Phyllis had another word, I think she just said. So, but I'm just throwing it out there that we are definitely trying to reduce the stigma and make it so we're trying to destigmatize it, so that, I mean, wouldn't it be great if young children weren't afraid of people and if they understood it, and we got intergenerational things going on. So
thanks very much, Brenda. Yeah. I was going to suggest before we move on to Lupita, does everybody want to stay on longer, because it's now 7:01, our time, Eastern time, the minute before the time we usually end. And we have another value statement to go through. Is everybody okay with staying on for another 15 minutes or so? It sounds like we're having a great discussion.
I'm sorry, but Margaret, I do have to go. I have been in meetings since 6:30 this morning. I am like fading so quickly, and I'm finding it difficult because we didn't switch back so I can see the statement. So I'm really I'm really suffering trying to keep on track here tonight.
Okay. Anybody else want to stay on for more time?
For reference, I did put the mission statement in the chat box too.
I'm okay with staying on, and I'd like to recommend that next time we have the meeting, perhaps we could ask everybody to print the statement up so they have it in front of them to read, because particularly for me, I should have done that and I didn't even think of it, because then it's just, then you can write notes on it and stuff. Just a thought.
Wonderful.
Yeah, Wally, you're in the same position I am right now. You can't see it, so it's not there.
It goes away pretty quick.
And then you put it in the chat, and then we're trying to scroll up and down. It just doesn't work.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Bye, Phyllis.
Bye, Wally.
Thanks very much. Bye, Phyllis. So let's continue
Thank
for another.
You.
Thank you, Phyllis. Let's continue for another couple of minutes with mission, and then we'll move to values. Is that okay? Because I think Lupita had something to say about mission.
Thank you. I do. This is my first meeting, and
welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that as a person living with dementia, I was diagnosed with MCI, and then it was later a neurologist doctor told me I had early stage Alzheimer's. And then just recently I had in May a PET scan, and it showed that I did not have amyloid fluid or anything like that, or tau. And so I said I didn't have Alzheimer's. So the second neurologist that read the report stated that I had dementia. Now, as a group that's looking for justice and looking to build a coalition around Alzheimer's and these diseases, I personally have an issue with the term dementia. And I think that's a term that should be changed, because I'm not a demented person. And I think that it's time for a change, that the scientific community and researchers and medical field, everyone needs to think of a new name other than dementia. And yeah, it's going to be difficult in creating that change, but I think it's something that needs to happen. And maybe not at this level, maybe in a different organization, because I'm involved with several. But I just wanted to throw that out there, because I know others who feel the same way I do about the term dementia. And that's something to me that should be changed.
Thanks for that great thought, Lupita. Thanks very much. So let's move on to, these are all wonderful comments, and Nicolette's taking notes, and we're going to look at the recording later. So we have everything, we've noted down everything. So now we're going to switch to the value statement, and Nicolette's going to facilitate that part.
All right, so Margaret, will you put that back up? And we'll leave it up on the screen. We won't be able to see, you may not be able to see everyone unless you toggle the little double lines and go move the picture smaller. And so another thought is, probably you're going to have some thoughts after this today. So if you could email, Cian, would it be the Reimagining Dementia email?
Yeah, I'll pop that in the chat too.
Okay, perfect. That way, you can share your thoughts you might have afterwards. All right, so for the values, Those are up on the screen. So values should reflect principles we feel are important to guide our work and by which we should be evaluated. Co-creativity with people with lived experience, participatory engagement, dignity, inclusion and belonging, social justice, internationalism, hope and joy. So the questions are, and hope and joy are highlighted because we're not sure these are values that guide our work. Although they are more inspirational, they may make more sense in our vision statement, which joy is included in the vision statement. So what are your thoughts on the values? And do these values reflect the most important values of the coalition? And we'll leave this up. Dorothy?
I do think that it's not totally reflected that we are, so yeah, I do agree hope and joy don't belong there, but what we actually, sorry, I lost my thought. I'm so sorry. I did have it right there and then I had an interruption. Sorry for wasting your time.
Oh, no problem. So when you think of it again, come back. Any other thoughts on the values?
I think that everything springs from hope and joy and connections. And so I also would like to, I know they probably don't belong there, but those are the things I'd be looking for is connection. You got to be involved before you can worry about your dignity. So I think connection, ability to connect. I don't know. I like hope and joy just because I do, but
yeah,
either way is okay.
Wally, I agree. It came back because I want to have some positive or positivity into it. So because that is the way I always feel after every meeting, and that I think I can't contribute, or I feel that I'm going against the narrative of it being a declining disease and everything coming with it. So I love the positivity because it invigorates people. So I want that somehow to be reflected in the values.
Thank you, Dorothy. Wendy? Will you unmute, Wendy?
Sorry, I think I did it and then I muted it myself again. I put something in the chat about the hope and joy discussion, like in terms of how you might reframe it so that you're making it more of a value, like in line with the others, right? Reflecting what people were saying. But what I was wondering about is like, I saw too much overlap or similarity between 1 and 2 because of the addition of co before creativity. I wasn't sure the difference between co-creativity and participatory engagement.
Thank you, Wendy. And Brenda?
I'm wondering if raising awareness should be in there somehow of, so people, it's all part of destigmatizing, actually raising awareness. So, I mean, even education, again, that is in line with what we do, but, I'm just thinking inclusion and belonging, but raising awareness of first of all, the prevalence, 1 in 3 over 70, according to the Alzheimer's Association. And, I don't know if education is any part of your mission or not.
Okay, thanks, Brenda. Any other thoughts on the values?
Also, the fact that people do live with dementia and live fully, and that's part of the awareness and education as well, is that, you know, that it, like Wally said earlier, it's not doom and gloom. It's, you know, people do live quite fully with it, with the right resources and support for a
Could I just mention that the campaign in autism was quite directed now towards the values that people with autism have. Like, for instance, people with dementia have much more intuition than us that are living without it. So I think something that we all agree on is the special value of someone in that with that, not disease, but with the challenges of the brain. There comes some other things that that are not seen in the world of the medical world, I would say.
All right, thank you, Dorothy. All right, Margaret, do you think we should go ahead and wrap it up for today?
Yeah, and first I want to make sure we capture the chat. So I'm going to try and capture it, and then we can wrap up.
Yeah. So at this time, we feel it's a good time for the coalition to re-examine our vision, our mission, and our values. So Kate White, who's here with us today, Pia and Sherry have been working together to re-examine and draft a vision, mission, and value statement for reimagining dementia, with the hope that it's a clear vision, mission, and values. I'm going to say this a lot today, and how this will help guide our decision making for the coalition and provide some accountability to members here. So the statement is meant to make it clear to the world what the coalition wishes for the future, so it's vision, how we are contributing to the vision, our mission or purpose, and the values that guide all of our work together as a coalition. We shared our draft statement with the steering committee members at 2 separate meetings and received some feedback at those meetings, as well as through email. And we also asked the steering committee members to vote on their top 3 to 5 values. So the results of these efforts is a statement that we sent out to you last week, and I'm going to share on the screen in just a minute. And as you reflect on what prompted you to join the coalition, we're going to be thinking about the ways that these statements are consistent or inconsistent with our understanding. So give me 1 second here. I'm just going to share the screen. 1 moment. Not this one. Sorry. And not that. Give me 1 sec. I'm not a good tech person today, obviously. Oh, here. Can everyone see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to Helen, who's going to walk us through this. And I'm going to share these questions in the chat as well.
Okay, let's see. So what I'm going to do is we thought it would be helpful. I'm going to read our notes on the visions, the mission, and the values. And we thought it would be helpful for people to hear the whole before we go back and talk about specifically the vision with you, the mission, and the values. So you'd have, you know, kind of an overall concept. And it'll be up here so you can look at it and I'll be reading it. So our vision is a society that prioritizes inclusivity, relationships, and essential supports and services that promote creativity, joy, re-ablement, growth, and life for everyone impacted on by dementia. Now the mission. Okay. Our mission is to transform society so that everyone impacted by dementia is valued and enabled to flourish. This requires prioritizing the voices and experiences of people living with dementia, reducing stigma and its associated harms, critiquing and transforming policies and practices that are not supportive of living well with dementia, and fostering more relational, inclusive, compassionate, and creative places, settings, communities, and opportunities to flourish. And our values. Co-creativity with people with lived experience, participatory engagement, dignity, inclusion and belonging, social justice, internationalism, and the reason we have hope and joy in yellow, and we can discuss this later when we get to values, is we weren't sure if those were values or not, even though some people thought they were and some people thought they weren't, so we could decide if we want to have those in there or not. Yeah, so let's, yes, the vision. Okay, and we'll, this will be kind of opened up to everybody, and not only is it recorded, but Taylor will take notes on this. So we can then, you know, incorporate what you're thinking into the statements. So maybe people could, so our vision, I'll just read it again. So what are your thoughts and feedback on the vision? Right, that's here. So maybe we should start there. Do you have thoughts about it? Does it reflect your understanding of the coalition? And does the statement reflect what the coalition has been working towards? And if you're brand new, you know, just put out your initial thoughts. I think that's fine. Myrna.
So if we go back one screen, the hope and the joy may not be an academic definition, but it's a definition true to people living with dementia, because we have never had that before, and it helps us live a good life.
Okay. Kate.
One of our members has asked whether somebody who is at this meeting is okay because they feel that he may need some support.
Okay.
Is that correct? Was that you, Myrna?
Yes.
Meaning you want someone to call her aside from here now? Is that what you're meaning?
It's a gentleman on our call. We just maybe need to ask him if he's okay. Pat Scrunton, can you hear us? Are you okay? We just were concerned that you were holding your head in your hands. Are you okay?
No, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm fine. I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yes.
I'm so sorry to have misidentified you. Just we were worried a little bit, but thank you for answering our question. Thank you. Back to our discussion. I'm sorry to interrupt everybody.
Yeah, no, important. Teresa has raised her hand. Teresa Montgomery.
I really want to commend, I want to pause for a moment before Mary left, but the vision that I see, what has been done so far with this coalition and where you're going, is encouraging other people that has dementia to be proud of who we are, to be proud that because we have a disease does not mean we will die tomorrow. Our vision is to be able to live as normal as we can and not feel that we're handicapped because of having this disease. We still can communicate. We still want to do things that's active. We still want to get involved and have, like, whether it's a home, whether it's for children, whatever it is, to show people like us that we can smile, we can give hope, we can tell you that this is not the end of our ride, and being that positive side that exists in us and keeps us going, that is part of our vision.
Thank you. I'm wondering, also, does this statement reflect, and it sounds like it does, Teresa, reflect your understanding of what the coalition is about? It sounds like there's also a few things that, we could add based on what you were saying.
Yeah, that and more. I mean, we all have our what really keeps us going, but I think it's our hope, our excitement, and our confidence, and to show that dementia, we as people are human. It's just that we have this disease.
Thank you. Great. Let's see. And I know other people have been raising their hand. Maybe people should just speak, because I can't see exactly who's been raising their hand at this point.
I'm going to jump in. It's Peggy.
Sure, Peggy, go ahead.
Because I see my hand. I like what just happened there. What I thought was sort of beautiful was it Myrna looking out for Pat? And so what, the idea of looking out for one another, for me, what the word is I would love to hear would be well-being. And maybe, like, I use that word a lot in my practice about what is our, like, the fountains of well-being for each of us, and how can we foster and support that a collective process of well-being together. So I don't know if there's a way to think about the word well-being in this vision.
Yeah, I like that. And also, how much time do we have? I'm not sure for each section. Should we be wrapping up soon and moving on?
We've got another few 5 minutes or so. Mission starts at 37.
Oh, okay, so we still have time. Okay, great. Okay, cool. Sorry.
And my understanding is it's lovely to have these comments, because one of us is taking notes, and it is a recorded meeting. And so what we're welcoming is your reflections, and we will then gather them together and have a reiterative, go around this again and add in the material that comes from our discussions today. So feel free to roam around with it.
I'd like to comment. It actually struck me in the mission, but I also see it here. People, don't think it's clear on everyone impacted by dementia, because it seems to focus on the person with dementia, not their families or caregivers. So it's a little bit in this one, but I definitely saw it in the next one, where I really feel that we're not being clear on who we're talking about when we're saying everyone impacted, because anyways, that's all.
Great. My comment is I totally agree with the content and the comments made. My overall comment is more in terms of the structure of the statement. I would be careful not to just string in. It feels like that should be split into two more precise sentences, for example. And I'm not going to wordsmith, but when you just string in and, it gets long and your message gets lost. So my comment would be on structuring a statement, whether it's mission, vision. I thought the values got right to the point that isn't lost in the wordiness. That's my only comment. And thank you so much.
So I just have a question. So just to clarify, I know it's all like one long sentence. So you're saying that definitely, I mean, I agree with you that we could, do that at least in two different sentences, and not just with all the ands. Is that right?
Absolutely. And then look at your list of adjectives, because the more you add, the less impactful eventually they become. So just, you got to really make some choices and then, I don't know, operationalize some of it, because just keeping on adding adjectives doesn't give it the punch that typically we want.
Here.
Great, thank you. Other people I know had their hands raised.
I just have a clarification,
yes.
because the word re-enablement is sort of new to me. And is it because people are troubled by the word transformation? Is that where re-enablement, what actually does that mean in this sentence?
My understanding was that it came out of a discussion with one of our members who said that very often, if you have a diagnosis of dementia, you're not offered the kind of opportunity to in terms of rehabilitation, you know, to regain some strengths and possibilities. So that was, I think the word reablement has a very specific kind of context that, you know, in perhaps in the medical system, I don't know, in the US, that people with dementia are not offered the chance to have, you know, the physiotherapy, the occupational therapy, all those sort of therapies which will re-equip somebody. It's sort of like, oh, you've got dementia, so it's all about a downhill.
I had just never heard the term, not that doesn't necessarily mean anything. And so I was curious as to
yes.
what it meant. Thank you.
Okay. And then Peter has his hand raised, and then I think we probably need to move on to the mission.
Thank you, Peter Whitehouse. I'm a neurologist, and so I'm part of that medical world, but a critic of it. I think disability language in general is useful to bring into conversation about dementia, with the exception that it presumes disablement before you get able. And that actually brings back to what I responded to in Robin's exercise. What's the stigma? Is the stigma being disabled by the label? Is it the label that's the problem, or the condition itself? And let me get to my other point. Dementia is a fuzzy concept. For example, the medical world is trying to establish it so people will be labeled on the basis of biological markers, PET scans, even before they have any symptoms. Are you disabled by just being told you have amyloid in your brain? And of course, there's mild cognitive impairment. And the other thing to remember is that children get dementia as well. So somehow we have to have a broad conception about what I call cognitive challenges. So I'm not saying we abandon the word dementia at all, because it's part of the root of how this process started. But what we want is a world that's allows everybody to be enabled more, regardless of your label or your biological marker. So yes, we need a dementia-friendly world, but we also need a world that's friendly for everybody. So I don't know that this leads to anything practical in terms of the vision statement, but it does ask us to be a little cautious that we don't embrace some of the medical thinking around dementia as we ourselves use that term. So apologies for being long-winded. I was last. But anyway, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Great. Okay, I think it's time to move on to the mission statement. Kate, take it away.
Okay. So in the mission statement, what we're trying to do from that vision is the what, the how, and the who, and the why. So what do we do? How do we do this? Who do we do this for? And why is it important? So we welcome your comments on the mission statement here. And does it reflect your understanding of the organization that you've joined, the contributions you're making, and our activities. So perhaps you have some comments to, and I suggest you speak directly. As like the others, I can't see hands from where I'm sitting here. Who'd like to begin?
I have a comment to make, that I'd like it to be more explicit in explaining how people with dementia actually can enrich our lives and teach us and help everyone to learn about ourselves. So, you know, I learn from people with dementia all the time, and it helps my development, and I'm so appreciative. And I would like to see that reflected in there somewhere.
Thank you.
I would agree with that sentiment and think that kind of central to some of the approaches that I see at the foundation of this coalition is that like collaborative learning, and there being, yeah, I think that collaboration, something that is centered on what we learn from one another, despite our cognitive differences. I work with people with a lot of cognitive differences, not just categorized into dementia work. And I see the value in my own cognitive differences, with mental illness, with dementia work, with autism spectrum, just kind of reimagining all of those things is at the center. So I don't know what those words are, but.
So stronger emphasis on the equality and learning together and learning from and with.
Yes, I love that also. I feel like othering, the othering of persons with dementia is a problem, and it's like our common humanity where we can really connect on, an, like you said, equal, Kate.
I really like the fourth point, fostering more relational. I think that's what you're all saying, and I think that almost should be at the top.
Before the prioritizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like that also.
It does seem more
As
logical.
one learns, then
Sorry.
another learns. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
Nancy,
just
sorry.
thinking that, you know, I have learned so much from my lessons, if you will, or my learnings from being in this dementia world, that it's sort of a kindness that exudes, and you have to get down past the barrier of who we look like and how we act, maybe, to the humanness in us. And I think that's what this fostering more says. I like that personally.
You know, I'll be really quick here. Another really interesting point is that I have support groups of all men, and they tell me they feel no stigma and have never felt stigmatized, whereas I have been on the losing end twice, but the men aren't. And I think maybe, I know that doesn't impact this mission statement, but I think it's something we need to think about. Are we as females just sort of more, there's a word that I can't think of, but I find that really interesting.
Sorry, yeah, so how, maybe something about how our intersections of our identities shape our experiences of stigma.
That's good.
I'm also noticing in the chat that there's quite a few comments. I didn't know if people might want to say something, like Barbara. I don't know if I should, I don't know, are you able to speak, or I could read also what you
Yeah.
say?
Well, I love the mission, but I also think it's pretty a lot, and it's a voluntary group. So well, I was wondering if you might prioritize, well, the points already said today. And, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You mean in terms of transforming society?
Yes, the first three are pretty, you could, yeah, they could be big, and they could also be a result of learning together, and having a good place together. Well, just a question.
We've got a couple more minutes to this before we move on to the values. So has anyone got any other comments to make? And are we able to save the chat? Do you know, Helen and Taylor?
I have no idea, but I'm writing down a lot. I have so many notes, and I'm looking at the chat too and incorporating that into
Okay. Thank you.
There are three dots below the chat, and then you can save it. Yeah, everybody can.
Thank you. I
So
think
Barbara, are you suggesting, Barbara, editing that? I think that's what I heard you say, right? Is that to synthesize this more?
Well, I'm not sure, but it feels like, yeah.
Maybe a way to do that is to put the mission and vision right next to each other, and then compare what is mission and what's vision, and then knowing that you need a little less to get more. And so that is partly words, but that's partly thinking through the difference, and then only say it once in one place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might really help this bigness feel, because I agree. It's like it gets lost in the bigness of that mission. And some of it is similar to vision, and just pick one place and say it once well.
Right.
So put the two side by side.
I was also thinking the mission is supposed to be more action oriented, I think, or like what do we do? So, I think that's one way of dividing the different things up. And the vision is, I guess, I don't know, maybe that could be even larger, I'm not sure. But anyway.
And there's redundancy buried in them. I can't tell you exactly because they're not side by side, but to really sort that up.
Yeah.
Good idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Kate, you want to
Shall we
say?
move on to the next one, Helen?
Okay, sure.
These are really valuable comments, everybody, because what happens is that we'll take it away and think it through and come back to you. So it's really lovely to have the richness of your contributions. So the values, we wanted to ask what your thoughts are on the bullet point list here. We picked out the principles and values that we thought were important to guide our work, and how we should be evaluated. So if something happens, can we say, well, has it demonstrated, participatory engagement, or did that experience really hold up to our value of dignity? So that's how I see the values being used. So please comment and contribute to this part now.
Now, is it this, I must ask, is this, I love the values section, but is this part of the feeling of bigness? Because it's a longer list. Is that what people are feeling when they say the bigness of the mission?
I actually like this statement, this section too, and I think because it's so to the point, I thought this was my favorite section.
Yeah.
I don't get lost in this section.
Me too.
I get it. Got it. It's right there in these bullets. I
The
don't
reason
get lost in the
hope-
phrase. Go ahead.
The reason hope and joy are have yellow highlight was that we had some questions about whether those were values or whether they were things that we felt were an important part of, you know, our experiences of life and being together. So it was just, that's why they're in yellow, not for any other reason.
Well, in a way, they're a measure of well-being, and maybe well-being here with, I don't know, but hope and joy are a big part of well-being. So.
And as a non-native, I'm curious, what is exactly the difference between the first and the second, and maybe the third and the fourth? Well, they feel like similar to me, or I'm not sure what's the difference.
Hmm.
And values, and everyone's making comments. Certain words shouldn't be in there.
Sorry, we've got a bit of not quite hearing the comment. I think when we were looking at participatory engagement and co-creativity, we were thinking about them as alongside each other, but being co-creative has very particular meaning. And we wanted to make sure that that was represented in the values. However, I agree, participatory engagement doesn't necessarily mean co-creation, but I might be wrong.
I think another point we have to keep in mind is if we want to include more people living with dementia, and the values should be, people therefore should be able to read and understand them without a lot of struggle. And I think that's an important thing. You know, to my mind, it's vital to have more people with dementia to be able to understand our values and our mission.
I think that's also important for the value of internationalism, just like as a non-native speaker, what are those differences? What are the nuances? And what is kind of industry language? What are those kind of buzzwords? And what do we really mean by them? How will we act them out?
Right. So it seems there is more discussion to be had, I think, around whether we need both co-creativity with people with lived experience and participatory engagement. And is that clear anyway? Yeah.
Have we got any final comments to make?
I wonder if with the co-creativity, you could integrate this idea of how we're learning together and growing together as human beings. I don't know. Is there some way to maybe that, because participatory engagement, I mean, I understand that, but I'm not sure that's universally understood, kind of what. So maybe a little more clarity, a little more.
I like that, learning and growing.
Learning and growing together, yeah.
Yeah, very clear.
Also, forgive me, I'm an English major, so I put, I did the vision statement in 2 sentences just for my own sanity.
Fabulous, thank you so much.
Take it or leave it when you look at it later, but it's just a go at it. It's just maybe a draft.
Well, by my watch, we're nearly towards our end time. Is there any final comments anyone would like to make before we begin to?
Peggy, sorry, could you just repeat what you said? So instead of participatory engagement, what did you say to use instead? Collective or
collaborative? I don't know, learning and growing together, I heard.
Yeah, something like that. You know, that we've truly, I mean, that's really true when someone said that at the outset, that I've learned so much. It's a very mutual exchange all the times I'm in the work with people. So I grow and learn just as much as they may be. So however that said, participatory engagement feels a little clinical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I use that phrase, so don't worry.
Okay.
I use it, but
Also, Kate, in the chat, Gina was asking, is there another, if we're wrapping this part up, is there another meeting? She's been distracted with phone calls this morning, so I guess the next meetings would be the next membership meeting.
There's one tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow also. Oh, yeah. I didn't understand that. Good. Yeah, I'm not sure what time.
The same time, 5 o'clock.
UK time, usually.
Yeah, what is it your time?
Pacific, it's 9 a.m. So Eastern, it's noon. There we go. Okay.
You have a lot of good, a lot of good foundational pieces there
Yeah.
to work with. So
Oh, a lot. Yes. Thank you so much. Rich.
Very rich contributions, thank you. And if you have other contributions you'd like to email to us, that those would be most welcome as well. You may have thoughts that haven't formulated completely that you feel able to have said out loud today. So please bring them forward.
do we use the same email, Mary, through you?
Yeah, for the moment, yes, I would do that, yeah. Would you say that, Helen and Taylor?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just use that email for now. It's easier. Yeah.
Notes and everyone's contribution. Thank you.
So we want to say a very big thank you to everyone for taking your time to reflect on these things and to bring your creativity and your passion and your critique, which is very welcome. And we will end up with something that will be enriched by this conversation and yesterday's conversation and tomorrow's conversation. So we will be putting these things together. So it's just up to me to say thank you to everyone. Are there any final comments, remarks from you in the meeting that you'd like to make before we say our goodbyes?
Thank you so much. It's been great seeing everyone.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, it's been good. And just throwing out the wings out there is when we living with this disease is why we say to ourselves, why we need group support. That's why we're on this call.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's why we need one another. Yeah.
We sure do.
WINGS.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Okay, well, at this juncture, we feel it's a good time for the coalition to re-examine our vision, mission, and values to help to guide decision making for the coalition and provide some accountability to the members. So, Mary had mentioned that as a start, Kate White, Sherry Dupuy, and I took the initiative to work together to re-examine and to draft vision, mission, and value statements for the coalition. And so these are meant to make it clear to the world what the coalition wishes for the future, that's its vision, how we're contributing to the vision, that's its mission or purpose, and the values that guide all of the work that we do together as a coalition. And so we shared these draft statements with the steering committee members at 2 separate meetings and received feedback at those meetings as well as through email correspondence. And we also asked steering committee members to vote on their top 3 to 5 values. And the results of all of these efforts is reflected in the document that was circulated to all of you. And that Sherry's going to share on the screen so that you can see those. And it's these that we'd like to discuss with all of you today. So to that end, we invite you all to reflect on what prompted you to join the coalition and really to think about the ways that these statements are consistent or inconsistent with your understanding of the coalition. And we're going to take these each in turn. And so starting with the vision, the statement is, our vision is a society that prioritizes inclusivity, relationships, and essential supports and services that promote creativity, joy, growth, and life for everyone impacted by dementia. And so as you read this, what are your thoughts, your feedback on the vision? And I'm just going to open this up, although I can't see anybody. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to call on people who have their hands up. Sherry, can you see participants in the meeting? I can't see anybody.
I can. I'm not seeing any hands up yet.
Okay, well, maybe folks just need a moment to read the vision and really just to think about, as I said, how does this resonate with you? Is this consistent or inconsistent with your understanding of the coalition? Does it capture all of what you imagine the coalition is? Thoughts?
This is
I don't
Lynn,
know, I'm
Pastor
still,
Harper.
I think I'm not doing this. What's going on here? I don't think
I'm sorry,
anyone's gonna
Judy, were
really
you
care.
speaking or? Pia, I think this is really, this is really beautiful. The only thing
It's a
that
beautiful vision.
does strike me is that, supports and services. I
And,
wonder too, because I think the coalition does a lot around framing how we, like philosophize. So it's not only supports and services, but how we actually think writ large about dementia.
So any thoughts about how you would incorporate that idea? I think that's really important because we think together and working to reimagine dementia care requires reconceptualizing. So any thoughts about how you might revise that statement?
Can I just add too, as we have this conversation, I know that Pia, Kate, and I have gone around this several times in terms of what is a vision, what needs to fit in a vision, and what is in a mission, which is how we go about doing that and what our actual goals for reaching this vision is. So it might be important to think about where each of these things you feel fit, because what we don't want to do is to continue to repeat ourselves in everything that we're doing. So a vision needs to reflect what we hope the ideal world would look like in the future, and the mission needs to indicate sort of how we as a coalition are going to go about doing that.
So maybe Lynn, your thoughts, maybe that fits better with mission. Just put that out there. But I do think you've raised an important point, that it's not just supports and services.
Yeah, thank you, Sherry. That's helpful. And so maybe when we look at the mission, that's where Pia, you use the word, reimagine, which is part of our actual name, and reconceptualizing. So yeah, for me, that's really important to somehow be reflected.
Okay, thank you. Thanks so much, Lynn. Other hands? Others? 3 participants I see have their raised hand, but I can't see who they are.
Well, one is Casey.
Oh, Casey. Okay.
I think Leslie was first. Okay. Okay, Leslie.
The last comment just inspired me to think something through. So the others go ahead and I'll pick up at the end.
Okay, thanks, Leslie. So maybe over to you, Casey.
Sure, and I'll be brief. I really love this vision, and I think that these words are really powerful. And so I'm going to be maybe focus on one word, just an idea, and that's the word inclusivity. And so first, when I was thinking about it, I was thinking, well, inclusivity is a quality of the space, right? It is an inclusive space, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there is inclusion happening in that space. And so if we're thinking about the vision we want to manifest, the world we want to live in, it's not just an inclusive world, it is a world where there is inclusion. And maybe that's a fine point to make. But then I started thinking about a conversation I actually just had with somebody at the Alzheimer's Disease International Conference about some sentiments that actually I had not heard before, about moving away from the idea of inclusion and toward the idea of belonging, because of, I suppose, I think if I can honor sort of what her sentiments were, is that being included doesn't necessarily mean feeling like you belong in that space. And so if we want to think about, the world that we want to manifest, it's a world in which people living with dementia genuinely feel like they belong as citizens, like they belong as people, in their families, in their communities, in their supports and services. And so I don't know what exact change I'm proposing, but just some thoughts I had around that one word of inclusivity. But I really love this vision overall.
Thanks, Casey. Sherry, I somehow recall that we did have belonging.
I think it's been in several different places. I think it's been a value. I think it's been in our mission statement. But we hear you, and we've had these same sort of conversations, because inclusion doesn't necessarily mean that everybody feels included. And so that's really helpful, Casey. And I think I think too that belonging is a concept that our partners living with dementia feel is far more accessible. So that's really helpful. Pia, Maria, Tamara, and Leslie all have their hands up.
Okay. I don't know the order in which they raised their hands, so I don't know. Maybe we'll just...
here.
Leslie, sure, go ahead.
Because the last comment certainly resonated for me as well. When I was playing around with words, just thinking out loud around this inclusivity, that those with dementia or memory loss are seen as valued. The vision is to see them as valued members of society, and have a place at the table, so to speak. I don't have the exact words, but that's what I was trying to get at, that, there's a equality. They have a place, they have a voice, through caregivers and loved ones, etc. That's the vision. That was one of the vision I had. And also the
Sorry.
vision.
Yeah. Sorry, you just broke up towards the end. What was the last point you made?
Something around advocacy, the vision, to advocate. Now, I don't know if that's part of the mission. But the word...
I think we saw it as part of what we do to create the vision we have for a better world. So you'll find that in the vision, in the mission, for sure.
I wonder, I mean, the prioritizing of inclusivity, resonates, I think, with this idea of valuing people living with dementia as members of sort of the notion of equality. So I don't know, like all of these ideas seem to resonate with conversations we had that informed the creation of these statements, but I really appreciate these being brought up here, because I think as we look over these, we want to make sure that this is clearly reflected. So thank you. Thank you, Leslie.
I just have one question. Could you just define for me your understanding of the word reablement?
Yeah, that we actually had rehabilitation, because people living with dementia have emphasized that they don't get access to the possibility of rehabilitation or growth because the stigma suggests that they don't have the capacity for that. One of our steering committee members who's actively engaged in the disability world talked to us about how language around rehabilitation is really a more clinical concept, and that something emerging in that world is the notion of reablement. So supporting people to be the best that they can be, to be enabled in as many ways as possible, because when you first get the diagnosis, there's so much of the stigma that takes over that people are actually disenabled.
Right.
In many ways. In fact, in my participatory work with people with dementia, it often became hard at first to get people with dementia to even think that they have anything to contribute. And so there's a lot of work that has to be done to re-able and empower people to feel that they continue to have important contributions to make to their own lives and to the lives of others.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry. But Leslie, your questioning of the meaning of this, I think, is important, because clearly it carries an enormous amount of meaning. And if it's not a discourse that people are so familiar with, then we may not be getting that idea across in the most effective way. So anyway, thank you for seeking clarification about that. So Maria and Tamara, is that correct? Maria, do you want to share?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, I'm actually very new to the coalition. And so I just want to say this is really, really meaningful and impactful. For me, I don't know if this is the right time to do this, but I would love to, if it's possible, to do some introductions as well. Maybe at the end of the call, just so that I know who's on the call. But I just want to say I'm really, really glad to be here, and this vision really aligns with what I think is really important to be doing in this space. So thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Thanks for joining. Yeah, I hope we have time at the end to do a quick round of introductions, but welcome, and I'm pleased the vision resonates with you. Tamara.
Hi, it's Tamara.
Oh, Tamara, my apologies.
And it's fine. I'm letting you know. I guess I want to back up slightly, because when I popped back on, I was disconnected by Mary. I see lots of faces. It seems like you all got on quicker. And I noticed that Sandy's not here. So I'm curious if there's an awareness that maybe not everybody is in the room who started out in the room, and that Mary hanging up caused issues, at least for me. So I guess I want to just make sure. So the other aspect of that is I came in, you all were already talking. I'm not quite sure where we are. I see a vision. I have a couple of comments, and one is, I think the first thing that I noticed was this word reablement, and thanks for what you just said. And so I'm happy to hear that folks more involved in the community that may have more current language had commented. And I do still think that there's a way that there's an ableist idea there. And I would want some more thought around that, because I don't think there's anything wrong with the way someone is living with memory loss. And I don't think there's any desire or need to create, there's not some right way that people need to be, and that we're trying to get people there, or, yeah, so I'm a little bit hung up on that aspect. And then the other thing, inclusivity, in my world in Seattle is very much tied to race and immigrant participation. And so I think there's more there, and I think that could have different meanings. I think I heard somebody mention inclusion a few minutes ago. Yeah, but I think that the nuance of words and that they have maybe more meaning or more emphasis in certain communities. I work for the city of Seattle. There is, definitely government high, at least talk, priority to do better about including, and I'm saying that very intentionally, the entire community. So that word means that, I think, for me. I mean, it means other things as well. And as a whole, and again, I'm not great at like just here's a thing, respond to it. This feels on one hand really great, and on one hand, it's like a bit of like we're going to do this to you and for you rather than, and again, I heard it mentioned a minute ago, that place at the table. This vision is a vision that includes the voices of people living with memory loss. And I don't mean just care partners. I mean people at the table creating that vision and having a say in what the vision is. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's a lot. Thank you for your comments. I'm sorry, I did not realize that Sandy didn't rejoin. I don't know, Romeo, if you're able to, if you have an email contact for Sandy, just to check in and see if her intention was to rejoin, or just do the opening creative exercise.
I don't think I do, but I'll check.
Okay.
I mean, what I did was emailed the email that sent the link today, and I got just the link back. But after trying many times,
okay,
the link, thinking maybe somebody would figure out that it wasn't and going to send it out again.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for that, and thank you for your very, very thoughtful comments. Noted, your questions regarding reablement and inclusivity and ensuring that the vision, reflects that this coalition is co-led by people living with dementia. So thank you for that. And I'm just wondering, in the interest of time, Sherry, if maybe we should move on. I mean, we could spend the entire rest of the time talking just about the vision, and just to let everyone know too that your feedback is so valued, and it's not limited to this one conversation. So please feel free to email additional thoughts that you have following the meeting, but in the interest of time, let's move on to mission.
Yeah, and I also want to reiterate that this is not Pia, Kate, and my vision. We do have members living with dementia on our steering committee, and have worked really closely with the steering committee and with those partners living with dementia to ensure that whatever we presented to the broader membership at least represented diverse voices within our steering committee. And now the goal is to make sure that we're representing as all the members, right? So this is a process that we're just we've been working on for a while now, but yeah, this is a process. This is not the final things, and people with dementia have been actively involved in constructing these statements. So our mission, or draft mission, I should say, is to transform society so that everyone impacted by dementia is valued and enabled to flourish. This requires prioritizing, and again, a mission should always focus on the how we're going to create that vision that we want. So this requires prioritizing the voices and experiences of people living with dementia, reducing stigma and its associated harms, critiquing and transforming policies and practices that are not supportive of living well with dementia, and fostering more relational, inclusive, compassionate, and creative places, settings, communities, and opportunities to flourish. So we would like to open up to what your thoughts and feedback on the mission are. Does this reflect how you believe we should be addressing our vision or trying to reach our vision? And does this reflect your sort of hopes for the coalition? And not sure if there's any hands up.
It's hard to see, Sherry, with the screen share.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps if someone has their hand up and you're not being called on, just go ahead, speak.
It's Lynn again, just bringing up with the philosophical piece. You know, is there a way to, and I think someone put this in the chat, to include that we're fostering not only spaces, settings, communities, opportunities, but also narratives and cultural stories that are more relational, inclusive, compassionate.
Yes, like that. Thank you very much, Lynn.
I spoke up about the narrative, and partly I wanted to do that as someone who is not directly involved in the provision of services or receiving services, but is closer to the general public. But because I work with people who are interested in aging, and I know something about the fears and perceptions that people harbor and how they carry the idea of dementia, I think there's a whole public that will be well served to shift their story, to shift what Mary used to call the tragedy narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So at the same time, we're directly focusing on belonging, on services, and I just want to highlight that whole, that shifting the context in which those conversations occur, shifting the narrative, shifting the story, however you want to put that, may well be a part of our work, and it was certainly what brought me to the coalition.
Yes, thank you very much. I think in the development of this, we were seeing this embedded within reducing stigma, but I think you're right. We do need to emphasize more that that's going to involve shifting the narrative to something else, right? So
Yeah,
thank you.
well, if you consider that it's like reducing stigma is like reducing the stigma about others, and being inclusive and and creating communities of belonging. And yet for people to actually address the fears that live inside of them around dementia, whether or not they have dementia, whether or not they know anybody about dementia, there's so many myths and fears and bugaboos that affect everybody. And so maybe the focus isn't really on that everybody, but I think some attention to it could be really useful, because the general public does provide a context in which a lot of our work is going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. I think it will be important for us to sort of add something in about shifting the narrative, reconceptualizing how we think about dementia. So thank you very much. I think we'll figure out how to do that.
Yes, and as Sally was talking about the general public and our fears growing older and dementia, I think that's quite valuable, not only to include the entire population.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we would agree with that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm cognizant of time. I'm not seeing any other hands up, but thank you for the comments. I'm seeing them in the chat around thinking about citizenship and very complex concept. And I think we have given that some thought, particularly when we were thinking about our values. I wonder if Pia and Jill, if we shouldn't spend a few minutes on the values. And please, if you have any other comments, you can reach out to us or you can put your comments in the chat. But I think it might be good now to move on to our values.
Yeah, I agree,
And
Sherry.
I'm going to move to over to Jill.
Okay, thank you. If you could read the screen, we feel that our values should reflect principles important that guide our work and by which we should be evaluating. Co-creativity with people with lived experience, participatory engagement, dignity, inclusion and belonging. And as we talked in the beginning, in the mission, in the vision statement, it's located here, and perhaps we will expand it or revise it and have it located somewhere else. Social justice, internationalism, hope, and joy. We'd love to hear your thoughts on these values, and how do you feel they reflect the most important values that have guided our work up till now, and that would continue to guide our work in the coalition? What are we thinking? And some of them I know are very broad, as we said, values, principles. These are, might be broader spectrums. Leslie?
Yeah, just a second here. Let me see. So will you be fleshing out what these look like in action? Is this just the first go?
Yeah, usually when values are articulated in mission statements, they're the values themselves are just articulated, but we have had some comments about whether or not we need to provide a statement about what these mean to us. I think values, because of our internationalism, this language could mean very different things in different countries, in different contexts, and so it might be important for us to flush out how we're seeing this play out for the coalition.
Yeah, I would agree, like a sentence, to keep it simple but clear. Because my understanding of values is they also help make decisions. You know, when you look to your values when you need to make a decision, you know, does this decision reflect our values, right?
Yeah, I agree, Leslie. I actually think that all of this is meant to inform decisions. So we want to make sure that all of the decisions that we're making reflect the mission, the values, and the vision.
Right. Thank you.
I see that Connie has added community-based as a proposed value. So thank you, Connie.
Sure. Yeah, I'm new to this is my first Zoom, but I've been following you guys for the past year.
Well, welcome. Pleased you could join us.
Thanks. Interested in how one gets involved or volunteers for various activities.
So maybe after the meeting, if you send an email to the coalition, Mary or one of us will respond about that.
Great, thanks.
Really pleased to have your interest.
Thank you.
Can I ask how you're thinking about community-based?
I'm just thinking, I saw the internationalism, which seemed really vague to me, and I'm sort of on the edge of retirement and trying to get involved more in the arts and community-based organizations. And I just find that the more local you get, that I find it very beneficial in terms of even spaces and activities. We have a really great, The Villages is an organization where I live in all the various different communities where, you know, they have stuff for, you know, not necessarily just people with dementia, but for seniors. And I just find after the pandemic, especially, getting out in my community has been so important for me. So it's just something I'm thinking about a lot.
Thank you. Yes.
So extremely local.
Connie, Romeo's kindly put the email address into the chat. So
great, thank you.
For you. Yeah, thanks,
Thank you.
Romeo.
Yeah. Just to also acknowledge that several of these values, if not all of them, have been guiding our work the last 4 years and have, you know, grown in the aspect of guiding the direction in our work. So it could be that we want to see if there's other values. I'm not sure what people think.
It looks
I mean,
like
like we
Tamara
said
has
about the
her hand
community.
up. Oh,
Yeah, Tamara has her hand up.
Tamara.
Jill can keep talking.
Oh, I was finished.
I just wanted to make a comment about the community-based language. It's interesting because in looking at that list, I was thinking about something in a movement in Seattle that we started years ago that in many ways is similar, similar philosophy, and community-based is what our intent was, that in a programmatic way, things were happening out in real places. So not in assisted living facilities and communities that were very close. So I don't I hear, Connie, what you're saying is slightly different. And again, it's that language has different meanings in different places. I think that I have heard in other meetings I've attended that there are definitely people a part of this who do work in facilities. But the idea was sort of that anti-stigma in order to provide opportunities, and that they were that it was important that they be out in the community, that it's not hidden away in a place where people are hiding away because they're shunned by society, or
That's
just-
exactly what I was talking about. I wasn't talking about in facilities. I was thinking local library, local church or synagogue or mosque, or local spaces. I wasn't thinking at all about facilities specific.
Yes, I heard that in what you were saying. That's
Yeah.
why I want to.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
agree. That is, but I don't think, I guess what I'm saying is I do believe that I have heard represented among this group that there are people who do work that is different. So whether or not that the entire group of people who participate would feel that that was an okay definition, I guess is what I'm saying. Yes, Connie, I hear that you and I were thinking similarly.
Okay.
I think our hope with inclusion and belonging was that no matter where people living with dementia are in the world, whether it's at the library or at the theater or at the park or in a residential care home, that they feel that they're valued and that they're included in an active way, and that they feel a sense of belonging. And so I think that's where we tried to fit it. It was certainly one of those inclusion and belonging were values that were probably most prominent in the votes that we had from the steering committee. But yeah, let's think about how how community can be incorporated in Pia, I'm cognizant that it's 12:59.
Yeah.
This has been amazing though, so thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for all of this like rich discussion and suggestions. And please do keep the comments coming. As I said, it doesn't have to just be within this meeting. So thank you.